What's up, my Support Fibro friends? We are live. Happy Friday. Welcome to another Fibromyalgia Community Connection. We're excited to be here. So come on in, leave us a comment or an emoji. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Grab a hot beverage if you need it. It's Friday, so kick up your feet if you're ready for it, ready for the weekend with your nice, comfortable, fluffy slippers. And we're going to have a good discussion. So please join us by chatting with us on all the different questions, and we welcome you here. I am Melissa Talwar. I'm the Executive Director of the Support Fibromyalgia Network, and I'm also a board-certified functional medicine health coach.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brandi I'm the Director of Programs of Support Fibromyalgia, as well as a co-founder. I'm also the blogger at Being Fibro Mom. And I was about to connect and I was about to click something and break something. So that's why I was distracted for a second. So my apologies, Melissa. It was like, oh, do this connection. I'm like, should I click it? Or is it like the duck? If you click it, will it disconnect me? So I'm just going to leave it alone.
Yeah, we have to teach Brandi here. Like, we have a minute where we log in. I'm like, please don't walk away. Please don't touch anything. I got this. Like, Brandi, just stand there and smile. So, like, that's what we have to like train. So, if you anybody else in production, you know how this works with like managing talent. Normally in the past, my other jobs and positions, I was behind the scenes directing, broadcasting and stuff, and directing talent on the screen. So we're like, pay attention, come on, the light. Okay, we're at 30 seconds. We're going to log in a minute. So be there, be smiley, be ready to go on camera. So it's like, look, we're virtual here, so I'm not in person with Brandi, but normally I'd be like, so, but we welcome everyone. Hello. Okay, I know this has been a repetitive question for everybody. We're going to do a separate video on this question because this thing comes up a lot with this, and it's a really controversial question. So I just want to maybe get this out of the way, but do a separate video on this. This company has had a lot of controversies behind it, so please do your research. They are not working with UCLA, just to let everybody know. If you see a press release, what I recommend is calling the university that's listed on the press release and see if they're actually affiliated with this company to do your due diligence. So I've answered these questions repetitively on YouTube channel. So please respond to me over there or send us an email. You can send me an email at melissa@supportfibro.org. I've definitely been responding back. Please check your email because I know you've written me too. Please definitely check your email and give a response because, again, we don't want people to be taken advantage of in our community. It's easy to prey on the community because we are looking for relief, and most of us are desperate for relief, but there's a lot of predators out there. Not saying that this necessarily isn't the truth, because we want to be open-minded to if the truth and trials do come together, but this company has a particular history. There was a press release from Stat News coming out too. So I think that just definitely do the diligence of research, call the universities that it's listed that says it's involved. They're not involved with UCLA for sure, because I know that's been a question. They have a separate lab in Los Angeles that I can't find an address for, quite honestly. There's no phone number. There's no physical address for a lab. So I don't know how to figure out where it is. If someone out there does have an address for the lab, please let us know, because there's no way to contact the people there unless you're already affiliated. And then also, again, in different press releases, it's mentioned different universities. I would call those universities. I would call those departments and make sure that they are affiliated with that company first before you get involved. So please keep that in mind. Please advocate for yourself and protect yourself. It's very important right now because we don't know what we don't know at this point. So sorry to go off a tangent. Brandi is here. We wanted to talk about a lot of different things. So we wanted to talk about group health coaching and bring that up and what actually is group health coaching. But before we begin that, I wanted to ask Brandi, because she's definitely more experienced in this path, is managing your family when it comes to these storms. Now in California, we had a hurricane, because I never thought I'd hear the word hurricane in California in the same sentence, but I was so challenged because like my niece was asking questions. She was really, really scared. She wanted to know what a hurricane was and then what to do in a hurricane situation. And the normal me was going to reply back in my normal self, like very Sheldon-esque, or some people compared me to Bones in the show. And I was like, oh, I don't think I can do that, right? Because it's very, if I give her the literal definition, what I don't want to scare her. So this raised a question for me, and anybody else want to chime in too with your experiences. Like, how do you address this with your kids? Like when it comes to these storms coming in, and all of this alertness, like it's a lot with social media. If they're watching social media, it's very intense. How do you manage this, Brandi?
Well, I think the way that you were going to approach it with your niece would be appropriate, depending on her age. So sometimes when we do get really scientific and we get straightforward and we tell the facts about it, telling it in that neutral, factual tone can actually calm our kids down, because it's just a science. It's just weather patterns, and breaking it down in that sense. For younger kids, I would first address their fears and say, it's really natural for you to be scared. I get worried about some things too, but let's look at it. What's great about YouTube is there's so many videos out there that really break things down for kids and explains it to them in a very, straightforward manner in which they can understand. So getting on YouTube and trying to first find the videos. Don't search for it together because you might find some really scary stuff on there, but look ahead of time and then, just say, hey, let me find some stuff and let's get back and let's have this conversation and then get back in it. There's a lot of books out there that can help as well. And then asking them specifically what they are scared about, because it might not really be what you think it would be, because it's been a long time since some of us were kids. And so we have to get into that mind and say, what exactly are you scared about? It might be things that you don't even think about. When my sister was alive, she was petrified of storms. It didn't matter what kind of storm it was, she was petrified. And her reaction to them, like, instilled in her children to immediately be scared of storms. So it doesn't matter what kind of storm it is, they immediately get ramped up and they get really scared. Now, when they're with me, I approach a storm as like, it is what it is. Let's not worry. Let's just try to prepare for it. I went through Hurricane Hugo. That was like really scary for me and my sister. The roof like collapsed in like right after we had left. And it was a lot that we had experienced. So now when I go into it, it's like, okay, what can I control? And that was really helpful. So when her kids come here, they know that I am very calm and I got it together. And they even tell Mima, when a storm comes, oh, we want to go to Aunt Brandy's house. Aunt Brandy can save us from it. And it's not because I'm saving them. I'm just making them feel more in control. And I just approach it in a very calm and I answer their questions. They have a lot of questions. And just answering those questions make them, we're all scared of the unknown. So.
Well, that's what was confusing. I didn't want to make it worse by answering questions and how to answer questions. Because, I don't think any of us were really prepared for the type of weather system that was headed our way. And even with tropical storms and stuff with tornado warnings, we had an earthquake at the same time, power goes out. All of that stuff. And even with our alert systems with tornadoes, it's like seek shelter, look for a basement. We don't have basements in California. We don't go to
we don't either.
We don't go to basements because we have earthquakes. So there's no reason we want to be in a basement when we're predominantly like earthquakes and fire. So like none of us were really like understanding what to do. So I was just like, wow, because there's so much impact into the people that just got with Florida. And like, I'm just like, how do people manage? Even our own systems here, because it revs up our nervous system so much and this is what I don't think our West Coasters knew much about, is the storms fluctuate so much that it's like, it can wobble, it can change, and things change as you go along, but you constantly hear as it's approaching, especially if you stay in the news. How much do you watch the news when it comes to the approaching this?
I don't. I don't watch the news, honestly. I just look at the map. Like probably like every 12 hours, I look at the map and just see where it is and when it's gonna fall in our area, and what time. I don't watch the news. I don't do any of that stuff. The news, with the weather, it can really ramp up my anxiety, and make it so much worse for me. So I just try to approach it in a very mild manner. If it's anything that's really severe, I know my mom will call me and say, hey, like, because she lives on the island. So we live in Charleston, South Carolina. She lives out on James Island. So she's like literally on an island. So when it gets bad enough for her to pick up the phone and call me, because I'm more inland, I know that, okay, something's up. We need to prepare a little bit because she'll come here to avoid flooding. But, I think the best way to prepare for a storm and sense of that is off season. I don't think waiting until the season to prepare is the best because prices go up. Generators, canned food, water, any of that stuff. And I think preparing off season would make you feel better going into the on season. So making sure that you have like, how with fibromyalgia, we have like little flare kits for like our pain and our medicine and stuff. For kids, it's good to have that too, which is more on my blog. But if have something like that for a hurricane or a storm or whatever, we don't have basements either. So trying to find that location in your house that is the safest. I used to think one part of my house was the safest. And then it dawned on me after a few years, this isn't the safest place to be. So knowing that, tell the kids what to do when there's a tornado warning, and having those little kits for them to have their games, because preoccupy their mind and get it off of there. Make sure you have all your candles and batteries and all of that ahead of time. So when the hurricane season comes, you just have to pull it out of the closet and just make sure you have everything. Keep a checklist, because we have fibro brains and have a checklist, and make sure you have it. That's how we approach it. We don't try to get too ramped up, because we do have children and we don't want them to get ramped up too. But it's okay to be scared. It's okay to have those worries. It's natural.
Well, I appreciate you sharing about the kits, like having that and even different games. I'm assuming maybe more battery powered games rather than all the electronic games that you might need to have to keep charging, and stuff to keep them occupied, especially if the power does go out. Like you guys are still like able to do things like have fun as a family as much as possible. So I do like that idea of having kits available for the kids that they like. So
Board games, that you can also go to beingfibromom.com. I have a list of some great board games, no batteries required. You can have flashlights in case the power goes out. Go to good old card games. I mean, I've got lots of good board games for all ages out there. And I'm also in Somerville, South Carolina, so she knows what I'm talking about. We're really inland, and we didn't get a whole lot from this last storm, thankfully. It was just we over prepared this time, but better to over than under.
well, like I said, it's hard because it shifts so much. So people tell us to prepare, and it's like, okay, what are we preparing for? And then we here always have like our earthquake kits that we have extra stuff for anyway. So we kind of have it. That's why I was surprised. There was definitely a massive run in this area for the grocery store, like right before, like everybody was packed in the stores trying to get water and other food rations. And I mean, we just hear from people that it was a nightmare to like go out into the stores to do that stuff. And I know not everybody can afford to prep, but if you start sort of like building up like little by little, like gallon of water, keep stuff there. If you're able to have like a tank of water, I was watching all these prepper channels at one point to like figure out tools that you could use. But it's definitely a challenge when you have a family and, thinking about all of that stuff.
Well, get the kids involved and see what they're worried about, and see how you guys can address that concern. And as speaking of, getting prepared ahead of time and getting it little by little bit, that's how we should do everything, especially with fibromyalgia, is just do baby steps so it's manageable. Walmart has, because we are huge Walmart shoppers. What we do is in the past we have gone to Walmart and gotten the big pallets of, not a pallet, like I mean like a tray, like a tray of canned goods. So you can get like canned veggies, canned fruits and everything. And they're like 50 cents a piece. So if you get like a tray of like 12 cans, you can just keep it. It comes already, like, especially if you order it online, we've ordered it online before, it comes in the plastic wrap and we just store it in the closet and just stack it. And then when it comes, because they last a while, just do it a little bit at a time and keep a checklist.
Well, it's good you're talking from a perspective too of having a family around and kids and stuff, because they do need to eat. I mean, over here, like our rations, I survive off of avocados. So, but that's not sustenance for like a whole family of kids. So that's why getting your perspective is definitely an important thing. And we do have different family members. It looks like, hi, Jody. So several family members in Florida and South Carolina. It's just fascinating to me because of the impact continuously of these storms and just any of these natural disasters. And each of them have their own differences in how they create a lot of nerve-wracking situations and stuff like that. So.
Oh, and something you mentioned earlier too was about the pressure and how it affects our bodies too. So two things is we should approach the storms and those situations just like we approach fibromyalgia, is just be prepared for them. So when they do come, we know what to do with them. So just being prepared ahead of time, knowing what you need, because like Melissa said, if you wait until that day and you go to the store, it's crazy. So the storm hit us Wednesday night. We always do our shopping on Wednesdays. So I was telling my husband, let's do it Tuesday evening. He was like, no, we got to stick with the plan. We go on Wednesday. I'm like, it is going to be busy out there. We went and did our normal grocery trip, and there was like no bread. There was no water. And it was just crazy out there. And I was just like, okay, this is why we have to go ahead of time. So waiting until the day of, sandbags, generators, all of that, they're going to be gone immediately if you wait until something is approaching. They're just going to be immediate. So get those ahead of time and just have them, wherever you want to store them in your house. Make sure that your medicine is up to date and all of that, because when the storm does come through, this is the second part of what I was going to say, is going to wreak havoc on your body because of the barometric pressure. So you're going to go into a flare. You're going to have achy joints. You're going to be swollen. You're going to have a headache. You're going to have all of these things. And it's going to last for a few days, because right after the storm, or right before and right after the storm, it's beautiful weather. But during the storm, you have all of that pressure. So coming out of it and going into it, your body is going to feel it. So be prepared for it.
That's also a great point. I mean, that's even something I noticed when traveling on the East Coast with all the storms, is that shift in weather patterns really can knock people out. I know some of us are like weather beacons, and some of us keep talking about they know when a storm is coming through because their body definitely does not feel good. They get headaches, a lot more pain. So when the weather shifts, so that's something also to keep in mind. I think that's why it's recommended, I guess, even with anybody, is to just slowly aggregate these supplies. So having extra water, having cans, like if there's sales too on off season. I noticed like the Sam's Club or Walmart and Costco off season, they'll actually run sales on some of these supplies that you can grab. And like Brandi said, these are shelf stable. Look for shelf stable, long lasting things. Obviously, I have avocados, which don't need refrigeration, not shelf stable, not long lasting, but at least I can survive off of it. We always keep like a jar of ghee, because I know ghee is shelf stable. You can cook it. If you need to eat it, you can, for like fats and survival. So there's all kinds of different things too. And just having that in ready and slowly stock up. So, and then we kind of go through it at the end. Like if it's starting to get close to expiration, then we'll start eating some of it. So it's just what we have to go through. But I love this different perspective on like actually having a family. And again, I really didn't want to upset my niece and nephew by scaring them. So I had to like take a pause. I was like, like Auntie Mel cannot be the same Auntie Mel with like answering this question. Like, do I even tell them what's going on, or do I just be like, you're okay? Like, I was so confused.
Yeah, just talking to them and having that conversation and recognizing what they are scared of. And Dr. Ron said something really amazing in this week's group. I keep thinking today's Monday because we had the 2 days for the weather. So I keep thinking today's Monday. But earlier this week, Dr. Ron had made a mention that Navy veterans are really good at predicting the weather. And they can say, oh, the weather's coming. My left knee is hurting. It's true. We really can. Like, I'm a Navy veteran and we really can predict the weather. I really always thought that was because I was born and raised here in Charleston. I can even sniff the air and I can smell when that weather is coming. But as I got older and I developed all of these other issues, I can really feel it in my bones. And so when Dr. Ron said that, I was like, yeah, there's multiple things there. That's me.
That's really interesting that he like made that connection there.
Yeah, he says that we're like, that he says back in the day, we used to actually, like, human beings were actually designed to like predict the weather about stuff. And he went into this whole thing of like how it's done. I cannot repeat it back because he gives a lot of information. I just get so zoned out in it. I don't always take notes with everything he was saying, but he had this whole science, like it was like a 60-second spiel, but it was really interesting how the body, from the sinuses up in here to the body, it was incredible.
Wow, that is really interesting. So is he going to utilize you when we go to Houston to like predict making sure we don't have poor weather in Houston when we're there?
I don't know. I was like making the joke with Jillian over at the Texas Center for Lifestyle Medicine that I want to go and move to Houston for like a year and get Dr. Ron to fix me, because he has all these things that he talks about in the group coaching sessions, like are related to me, from like my jaw to fascia, all of that stuff. And I was like, is there a way that we could just go and live there for a year and like have him like reboot my system, because he is really involved with his patients and he knows. They just had a myofascial release session last week on Friday. And then on Tuesday, we went into the session and he was like asking the patients directly, like, oh, I noticed during the session, this is what you've experienced and what you experienced. And asking, he is very involved with his patients. And I just love that. I need some of that in my life. I think we all do.
Yeah, we all do. I mean, we jokingly, remember, as a group, talked about building Fibro Town, is to have like a separate little town of all of us with fibromyalgia. So maybe there's a plot, maybe somewhere in Texas, we should all like look for like tiny homes or something and like live in a plot of land to see if we can actually get better and support each other. We'll have a support network. We talked about this, growing vegetable gardens, some herbal gardens and stuff like that. And then if there's a provider down the road, then we all go in like a shuttle van. We take it to there, we drop off, we have transportation. So we all get treatment and stuff like that. So that'd be funny.
It would be amazing.
But it's a good segue, since you brought up Dr. Ron as well, is like, okay, so what is group coaching? And we've been talking about this too, because we want to encourage people, especially when you're in the state of Texas. So the Texas Center for Lifestyle Medicine has this group program, and you actually get it's medically designed, and then the MD is present in the actual group. So we're trying to figure out ways to encourage people to join in Texas, because we know there's a lot of people in Texas with fibromyalgia. So we're trying to figure out what questions people had. So are you already familiar with group coaching, with group health coaching? And what it's also known as is group medical visits or shared medical visits. It's become it's starting to come up through the medical care system with different providers that are hosting these. So I'm just curious to share with everybody out there and ask anyone, have you done these programs before? I think Cleveland Clinic did a program for chronic pain. You might hear it more in the chronic pain, like for chronic pain as opposed to just for fibromyalgia. But I forget who else. I think Mayo Clinic may have started stuff as well for a group shared visit program. But if anyone has tried these programs before, please let us know. Let us know your experience, what you noticed. Because Brandi, you've been able to see some of this programming and like the benefits. Like, how would you describe group coaching or like group medical visits?
I see it as more of the personal experience of it. So for me and my physical symptoms, a lot of it is tied to food and the mental aspect. So if I'm eating all the right foods, I also have to have the mental aspect. And so being in these group sessions where I'm with like-minded people that also have fibromyalgia, we're all in the same journey. That that piece of being vulnerable is now removed. I no longer feel vulnerable because everyone in the group session also has fibromyalgia. So I don't have to worry about those stigmas or those stereotypes or anything negative. I'm already in this positive mind frame. And then working through whatever topic that we have and hearing the other participants share their aspects of it. So it's not like it's just, hey, I'm just learning about this stuff and now I got to go apply it in my real life on my own. There's other participants that are also applying it, and we can share that, whether it be successes and failure, and say, hey, this is what we have found, this is what doesn't work, and we can discuss and grow together as a community. I preach a lot about community. Like, we all need to be in this together. Like, isolation is terrible for fibromyalgia. And, you know, you get stuck in this cycle of mental and physical, and it goes around and round. I've been there. So being able to get in these sessions and being able to talk to other people and break that isolation and break down those barriers and be able to talk to people and just feel like, you know, we're not alone in this and we can really help one another. I mean, it just does wonders for the psyche of it.
Well, and getting used to being around people and community efforts, because it's different. Like, there's different programs out there. And I know that Jody was talking about her program too for the Reiki sessions as well. And it does help. So there's different benefits, different modalities out there. So we do want to encourage people to try new things. And I know as an introvert, I'm kind of put off sometimes on group programs, but since I started coaching group programs, I'm like, okay, and I've kind of adjusted my understanding, just like Brandi said, of having this community of support, because it can be really isolating. So encouraging people to attend like these different group modalities and things like that, and even encouraging support groups. Support groups get a bad rap from maybe the past history, but we've really connected with some fantastic support group leaders that actually do different things within the groups, have speaker sessions that actually manage it a lot better than maybe where the stigma is. So any way you can get support, because it can be so defeating living with fibromyalgia, so like lonely too. And we want to make sure that you always know that you're not alone and you can find support. So utilizing these resources is super important. And with group medical visits, the cool thing that's about this that's coming up is that you get a mixture of education and some form of like coaching through it, although there are various programs depending on who's leading it and how good they are. Like when you have the medical doctor, with the exception of Dr. Ron, I've seen that it's heavier and more on education. So they're falling into more of the expert mode unless they've been trained to coach a little bit better. So you get more education as a group, and some people may prefer that, but you get to ask questions with the medical provider. But it's like a shared medical visit. It's usually what's happening is they're trying to get it billed to insurance. So covered by insurance, which is really awesome to have a program like that that's covered by insurance. There's various forms. So what Brandi and I were working on with another company, and what I've been doing for the last 2 years, is group health coaching. So I'm in the group medical visits with a provider. So this could be an MD, DO, PA, or an NP. And they're handling more of the medicine management, the quick medical check-ins with the patients in the group. And then I provide some education and go through coaching. So a lot of the times we're noticing that you're told to do something in the doctor's office. So they want you to eat in a certain way. They tell you to move your body a certain way, but it's really hard to implement. You don't know where to start. So that's like the benefit of having a health coach in the room with you. So this is the different things that we're also working on over here for our program. And Brandi, who hasn't really done much of an announcement, is working her way to actually be a board certified health coach soon. So I'm excited about that. And she's doing a program right now, which she'll finish up one portion of the certification to do some of that health coaching. And then she'll move into a master's program. So that's exciting. So I mean, Brandi, you're understanding now a difference with like education versus coaching to try to help patients a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it's really awesome that we can bring the two together. But I wanted to pause for a second and, you know, let's break down what does it actually look like when we say group coaching, because I think a lot of us, like I know like Melissa was talking to me about group coaching probably what 2 years or a year before I actually came on board and started working, and she would talk to me about it. I'm like, yeah, okay, and then she was like, come on, and I was like, okay, let's get into here. And then I was like, this is group health coaching, like this is amazing. Like, why was I not, involved in this and a sooner? And I think it was because I was missing that connection of what it actually looked like. So what it actually looks like is like when you sign up for one of these group coaching sessions, what you're doing is pretty much what Melissa and I are doing right here. This could be a group right here between two people. It's usually between 2 and 20 people. With Dr. Ron's group, which we'll be talking about, it's smaller groups, so don't be intimidated. But it's just like this. You get a secure Zoom link or however they want to do your virtual, and you just log in. And this is what it is. You turn on your video if you want to. You don't have to. I've seen a lot of success where the participants do not turn on their video. They do not talk. As long as they show up every single session and they follow along and they get the information, they email questions if they have it, they have a success rate too. So you don't have to turn on your camera. You don't have to talk. Some of us are really huge introverts and we just don't want to be in that setting. We don't want us to be seen, and that's quite all right. But this is what a group health coaching session looks like. You're just on a camera and you're in this session. And then like Melissa said, like between the two of us, Melissa is the health coach. So she would be leading the session and say, hey, welcome in. Let's get started. This is what we're going to talk about. She'll have everyone go around and just share your highs or lows for the day if you want, or for the week if you want to. Everything is just up to you. And then we launch into the topic and we talk. A lot like our live video sessions in which we just present the topic and then we talk about it. So that's what groups coaching looks like. Melissa, did I leave out any portion of it? Because I really want to try to paint a picture, because I'm a very visual person. I need to see what it looks like before I sign up to go and do something.
Well, and being in the right environment. And again, it depends on who's leading the group because the skill sets are different. Like when we talk more about the health coach being involved, and we've worked with some amazing health coaches where we've witnessed this, is like it's not only didactic or educational content, but the health coach will be the guide through this. And also just encourage people to share their experiences because you can learn from each other. So for example, if you're struggling, let's say with implementing nutrition, then, I'd be like, someone else could share, Brandi, like, oh, this is how I overcame that with implementing this part. And this is maybe how I batch cook, or we go shopping on Wednesdays. So we set that every night and I go shopping. So that way she's actually sharing how she got there in her health journey as well. So everybody's learning from that too. So it's not just one person talking all the time necessarily, and they're like leading and sharing a discussion, because it's having an open-minded, like figuring out what barriers are coming up with these health goals, because you want to sustain. It's not a challenge. It's not a 30-day challenge. We're talking about implementing long-lasting lifestyle changes in a lot of the health coaching groups. Now, some of the more medically like geared groups, it is more heavily in education. Again, Texas Center for Lifestyle Medicine is an exception. That's why we're trying to figure out how to encourage more people to join. Dr. Ron is definitely a blend of everything because he's actually doing the coaching, but he's an MD. So he's an integrative medicine MD, but he also teaches in functional medicine, integrative medicine. So he has a lot of information, and that's why we're like, I thought, we're trying to encourage people to join these groups. It's virtual. People in Texas, I know patients in Texas, this could be covered, although some people, if you're interested, maybe you should call to see if you're outside of Texas. I think, Brandi, we need to get a better answer on that with coverage. But we're really trying to encourage people to join these particular groups because we have seen success numbers with people decreasing the amount of pain. They actually feel more empowered. They have more education and the tools they need to implement at home. Decrease in fatigue, able to do a little bit more of daily tasks are a lot of things we've noticed. And then again, feeling empowered, knowing that they're not alone, because a lot of people have the same conditions. And you might be in a group too with people managing chronic pain or other autoimmune conditions as well. But for the Texas Center for Lifestyle Medicine, it is a fibromyalgia specific program, which is really cool.
Yeah, and so I was checking Inspire to see what people had said over there, some members have said over there. And by the way, if you're not part of the Inspire Fibromyalgia community, we highly encourage you to join. There's lots of links. We can post one below so you can get in there. It's free to join. You can post anonymously. And what we're trying to do is whatever we're talking about on Friday, we're trying to open up that discussion on Monday to get some feedback so we can address it in these Friday videos. So on Monday, I just posted out there, hey, what's your experience with group coaching? I've had a few feedbacks, some few responses, and nobody has had anything for fibromyalgia group coaching. And that was bringing me to what I was just thinking is that, like Melissa said, a lot of these group coaching sessions can revolve around different things. What we're talking about with Dr. Ron's group is specifically for fibromyalgia. And I wanted to say this, is that when you go into this group, this isn't about Dr. Ron saying, hey, this is what's going on with fibromyalgia and just puts it out there. From my experience, I've been doing it for several weeks now. Whenever we go in, he says, hey, how's everybody doing today? How's your week been since the last time I saw you? And so we go around and we all share, and it could be positive. It could be something we're working on, a challenge we face, if we're having problems with sleeping, whatever it is. And he will stop after every person has shared. And after every person has shared, he'll say, oh, do you know why that is? And he waits for it. And if you don't know why, he says, let me explain it to you. And he just takes a few minutes to explain it. He'll share his screen. So that way there's a visual. Like me, I have to have visual to be able to see it. And he'll share his screen. He'll say, this is why you're experiencing that. And these are some ways that we can break that down. And then he goes to the next person. Hey, what's going on? And even if it's positive, he's like, oh, that's great. And he'll talk. So my purpose of saying that was, when you go into this fibromyalgia group, don't take it as like, oh, a negative. A doctor's going to sit there and tell me how I'm feeling or what I should be doing or should not doing. That's not what this is about. Dr. Ron genuinely cares about his patients. He has a genuine interest in fibromyalgia. That's why he's having a conference for providers to learn more about fibromyalgia. So when you go into this group session, he's trying to get you to understand more and in a way that you can understand. So that way we have more control. And another thing, what I've learned about him, which I love, because I ask him a lot of questions because I'm going through my own coaching session. I'm like, hey, I know about this. What do you think about it? And he says, well, this is what I think. And what I love about him is he says, anything for someone to pretty much grab a hold of their health and get it back in control should not cost a lot of money. They should be able to do it on their own with their own tools. And I love that. So he'll break it down and say, anybody can take these baby steps to get better. So just keep in mind this is for the Texas Center for Lifestyle Medicine, these fibromyalgia group coaching sessions are tailored to it. It has a positive environment. He's a lot of fun to talk to. He's really down to earth. He's just amazing. And that's just how he is. It's not because we are fans of him, but it just has I could go on and on. I don't know how to express it enough.
Well, and also for those people that aren't able to get into that program, what we're doing here at Support Fibro, we've previously launched a pilot program. We had 2 group coaching programs that I ran as a health coach, rooted in functional medicine. We had 6 participants per group. And what I wanted to eventually do through Support Fibro was scale that and see, but we need to know if there's interest. And I know this is why we're also doing this, because it's confusing. So we can't send everybody to Texas. We're realistic about that, but I'm definitely not Dr. Ron, but I am very well trained in functional medicine. So we have created a functional medicine group health coaching program. And I did get very excited because I have been doing some group health coaching still as I move out of my position that I'm currently in with other hospital systems. There's a big hospital system I'm still coaching for in Minnesota and Indiana. And what I did recently in the last couple of days for a wrap-up session was I talked about functional medicine and the tree and everything, and everybody was jazzed. So I think there's something here. And so if you are interested in being a part of like a group health coaching program through Support Fibro, through even what Brandi is eventually going to launch with Fibro Parenting, be more geared to families and stuff. We need participants because we need to know too how much time you feel you can commit, because I know we don't feel well. Some programs, they do it weekly, whereas I'm kind of just like, maybe it's every other week that we do live sessions, but that may not be something. Do you want it continuous? Because most of the programs we would design are based off of one another. So they have pillars in each section where we kind of talk about certain topics. So that's what we did for our pilot program. I did make a video on that pilot program and the results of it. So I did successfully, we had participants that actually did improve their quality of life, which is the goal, on empowering them to understand resources, sort through information, because we come with a lot of content. I have a lot of guides from the Institute of Functional Medicine for different programs and stuff. And people always have questions about what to eat. What should I do? We always think that maybe movement is a certain way, but it's not. So what we do in these groups is we're really going to throw away that stigma and really hone in on the lived experience. And then Brandi and I both live with fibromyalgia. So we are coming from that different perspective, because I heard a talk the other day about exercise, and the person speaking, I was like, okay, I could tell she had some empathy, but I was like, you're not hitting home with understanding the different levels of where individually everyone's at with exercise. It's not that simple. And if you can't get out of bed, it's very different for what you can do. You're not going to be going for a walk outside if you can't even get out of bed. So Brandi and I have a very different perspective. I'm very vocal about what we should do as movement against the grain as well, because I don't want you guys to be crashing out. That push crash cycle is so real, and we have to watch that. And I think Brandi and I both have a little bit of a bias more on the nutrition side, so you'll hear that quite a bit. But that's this value of being coaches, and I'm so glad Brandi is working to be a board certified health coach, which is definitely apart from it. Like, board certified coaches have to take an exam from the American Medical Board. So once Brandi goes through the training, she'll take an exam just like I did. You have to go. It's an intense exam. Not everybody passes on their first try. For other coaches, Brandi will, but it's through the American Medical Board. So it's official. You get accreditation that way. You have to take CEUs to meet standards for renewal. So it's very official that way. And then it's also moving into the insurance now. We're CPT codes, so a lot of different people. I think the VA has this option, Brandi, which you should do more research on, because it's their whole health program. So they're utilizing board certified health coaches in the VA. I think they're working on what they do with coverage too, and more people are actually working on getting this covered universally through insurance purposes. So it's a huge deal.
Yeah, it really is. And, with Melissa and I, the reason we have that bias in nutrition is because we can't take medication to help with our issues. We're too sensitive for them. So we had to find other ways. And I really found the connection between my love of food and the way my body was reacting to it, which I love the fact that I can get into symptom management through food, because I love food. Like, I can eat food all the time. But yeah, so I am taking my final exam this weekend for my family certification through the Dr. Sears Wellness Institute. I am really nervous, but excited about that. Once I pass that, I will be launching all of my courses and my group sessions and all of that on my website. My website's not official yet, but if you go to fibroparenting.com, you can grab yourself a freebie that's on that site. You can sign up for the newsletter. I will be posting through there, so that way you can get that notification in your email. But then I launch into, I take off a week off because I got a lot of other stuff to do. I take off a week, and then I go into the master's program, which is what Melissa was just talking about, to get that certification so I can take that national exam to get certified Once I'm done with that, I will go into a course learning about adults and seniors, and then after that, pregnancy. So I'm getting all of it. I'm getting the families, I'm getting the adults, the seniors, the pregnancy, and I'm getting the masters, and then getting the national. I don't know why I've started all this at this time of my life, but I needed to get it because I really wanted to help other people, because when medication didn't work for me, I felt like there was nothing. I was like, what am I supposed to do? And then exercise, like Melissa was saying, we're talking about all this exercise. I was discounting what I was already doing at home, like chasing after my little kids and, doing chores and doing all that. That counts as movement. That counts as exercise. When I'm dancing in the car, when I'm waiting to pick my kids up from school, that's movement, And so I was like, I need to find these other different ways. And I'm so eager to share them out to other people. But I wanted to make sure that everything I was sharing was correct. And I wanted to learn how to do that. So that's why I ended up going through the certification program. I'm like, really? What kinds of medication sensitivity? All of it. I mean, immediately when I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, she put me on an antidepressant. I was a zombie. Like, I was just so not there. I'm a very, type of person that I'm like squirrel brain. I'm constantly moving. And I'm like, you ever seen Family Circus when the mom is like, the dad goes and does one thing, and then the mom's like going and doing all this other stuff on the way to just like take a shower? That's me. I wasn't like that. So I was just like completely out of it. So any kind of, if you read, I'll just end with this. If you read side effects on a medication and they're like, in these rare instances, this extreme thing is going to happen, that's me. I will be that. I had a reaction from head to toe off of an acid reflux medication. I took a Meprazole and I literally broke out in head to toe from hives. The emergency room doctor had never seen it before, was like, it's an acid reducing medication and you had do you know how rare that is? I'm like, yeah, that's me.
This, and looking at different modalities is what we've figured out with fibromyalgia, because we know that we just know that the experience for some of the FDA approved drugs have not been great, and people don't get the relief they're looking for. Yes, for some people it does work, and you can layer these other modalities on top of it. But for people like myself and Brandi, the side effects were so extreme, like we just couldn't be on them. And from my case, and this is why I want to go into more medical training, is medication management for me was neglected completely, and the system didn't work for me. So the medication mixture that I had, which they would never put us on, I think, and I hope now, but in the 90s I was, really wreaked havoc, where I got a diagnosis of schizophrenia because of the medication I was on. So I was fortunate enough that a psychiatrist, who getting a second opinion before they committed me, actually looked at the medications I was really on and noticing compounded all together, like the list of medications together I was on was impacting all of these side effects. So once they reduced that, he switched me. I didn't have those same side effects that I was like having, for my family to think that I should be hospitalized for good. So I have a very strong opinion on all of this. And I think it's really hard for our providers to keep track. That's why even with the coaching, what we would add to it that's a little different, that not a lot of coaches do, is the organization and the patient advocacy part. So I think even my comfortability lately, I've always tried to keep patient advocacy and health coaching separate, but I realized in the last year, I need to own that and be confident, because a lot of people, especially if you don't have the medical care you need and you're spinning your wheels going from one doctor to doctor and more complications are coming up, you need to get that organization up front. And we need to work through the timeline with you, which is what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks with the patients that I work with in the group health coaching program. And people are happy. Like, I've gotten so many comments like, wow, no one has ever done this for me, to like actually write out the timeline, everything that I'm taking, supplements, prepare questions that I can go into the doctor's office and ask these doctors and not be afraid, because you have to be able to ask these questions for your providers. So I think that's something that's very unique that Brandi will add to our programs as well, is the being the voice in the doctor's medical office. So I've been saying that we're advocates both on Capitol Hill and in the medical offices, but we're really going to take you every step of the way through the coaching process as well, meeting you where you're at. There's not going to be one way to do things. It's not black or white. Everybody's going to respond differently. Everybody has a different lifestyle. Everybody is coming from a different place. So we address that, but we can also do that in a group environment too, because we learn from each other. So no stigmas, no judgment. There's a lot of judgment out there that you have to do it this way because people have found remission that way or feel better, but that's not how it works for everyone. You guys might have some underlying other issues happening, especially with autoimmune conditions, arthritis conditions. Thyroid comes up a lot. So we have to take this into a factor, especially when hormones are involved. It's very complicated. You can't just do one thing, and you can't exercise your heart out. When you have a lot of that stuff going on, you are going to crash. So keeping that in mind as well, we'll have to get it done, Brandi. But we need to hear from all of you too, because we want to launch these programs and we want people to register for it. We want people to give us feedback. We have the content ready to go. It's just getting people registered for it.
Well, I wanted to highlight one thing that you said was about meeting the person where they are. So that's obviously something that I'm learning about in the certification program. But I love that they're addressing it because with being Fibro Mom, I get a lot of questions on that page, like directly to my inbox saying, hey, like I'm just got diagnosed. Where do I start to feel better? Or, you know, I just got recently diagnosed, or I'm struggling. Show me how to get better. And it really depends on you. And that's my answer. It's, well, what's important to you? What do you want to improve right now? What do you want to look at? This isn't about me, and this isn't a one answer fits all. And I'm not trying to be difficult with my answer, but really it's up to that person. And it's, where do you want to go? How do you want to get there? Let's work on this together. So I love that you highlighted that, Melissa, because it really is whatever you want, and us just talking through it as a group or one-on-one, because I'm going to be offering both. But it's where you want to go and how do you want to get there. And let's just, you know, let's go along and take each other's hands, like virtually take each other's hand, and let's walk through this. And because it's not just a one-way conversation, it's not just about us telling you what to do. This is about asking questions, and it's a back and forth dialogue. And how do we move through this together? Because that's one of the things we harp on, is do it together.
Absolutely. And you just reminded me too, the point is like, this may not be the right time to implement certain changes either. So this comes a lot up with like some of the group coaching that we do. Like the doctors recommend you need to do the elimination diet because this is what you need to focus on right now. But someone's, you know, situation, they might be in a lot of stress at work. They might be moving. There might be been a death in the family, or in a recent case, like a poor woman was having a loss of a dog. And I'm like, look, this is not then the time to add an elimination diet on top of that. And that's okay. Like, it's more about creating awareness around it. So picking where you're at, maybe it's just you may want to take a walk in nature, or maybe you just want to decrease sugar. That's fine. Like, everybody is going to be different. Some people are gung-ho. I meet a lot of people who want to do the walls protocol like at 100% because they're motivated. So that's different too. And just finding where you're actually at, but you're making the decisions because you're the CEO, you're in the driver's seat of all of your own health. So we're empowering you with tools and education, and then knowing that you have support and you can brainstorm and stuff like that. And this is where the group environment is also helpful with the right people in the group. Again, we train the group members to also not have judgment, throw away stigma. Don't put judgment on someone else, because we don't know what someone else is going through at the time. And it's very different. It's not going to be perfect. No one is perfect. You may see people on social media that look perfect, but I guarantee they're having some pizza behind the scenes and they're not sharing with you because they look really perfect. So that's not how it works. We just want to make progress, improving quality of life for you, bringing more joy into your life if at all possible. That's like the top goals there.
You just said pizza, and I just remember that I'm trying to make it a goal to have like a pizza after every time we do this live video, because I found a place close to us that does gluten-free pizza, and I actually can eat their pizza and not have flaring afterwards. But this, to kind of segue, because I know that we're short on time, so I want to segue into something that I completely forgot to remind you about, Melissa. But it's creating a positive environment. Like I said, there's a strong correlation between my mental health and my physical health. And when I am in that positive mode, it's easier for me to take hold and manage my symptoms. So we have an Empower Flower workshop that is coming up with Maudie, who is a support group leader. She is a support group leader for her lupus and her fibromyalgia support groups. And I want to say that it's next Saturday, September 9th. I don't have my September calendar up, but yeah, so it's next Saturday. We have been posting that all over the place. So you can go to our Instagram and Facebook pages and look and be able to grab information about that. But this is all, we're going to be doing a little craft together. And it's all about focusing on our positive attributes in order to help manage that chronic pain, that fibromyalgia symptoms. I will be leading that group. It's Maudie's group, and I'm going to be leading the, just, you know, trying to put that together of the positive with the craft. But Maudie is amazing. Can I just give a shout out to her for a second and say, Maudie is amazing. Like, she is so welcoming. She has no judgment of people. It would be like if you met her, like you just want to hug her. She has that kind of personality where she just makes everyone feel so welcome. And she's just so inspiring on so many different levels. So I am super excited about being able to do this with her and meeting her participants and all of that. But you can join us. You don't have to be a part of the support group. Join us. Come in. You can do it virtually, or if you're in the Chicago area, you can do it in person with Maudie. And that's next Saturday.
That's fantastic. And see, there's so many tools that we encourage people to do. Please, please get involved with this, because that's creativity. If you like crafting and creativity and you want more of that, we're definitely here to like implement more ideas. There's so many things that we can do, and there's so many great advocates as well. So like Maudie, there's different people we're also affiliated with in different parts of the country. A lot of it is going to be virtual. So definitely try to join if you can. When it comes, I know sometimes time is different, but all of this is important, and continuing to share. So like, for example, even talking about medical cannabis in these groups, like this is the benefit sometimes of having a medical doctor sometimes in there, but at least we can share with each other, okay, what did you try? Because people have questions, and then people have learned from mistakes too. Like, I guarantee that I've made every mistake in the book. So this is why, like, you can help each other. So that way, like, okay, you do not want to do it that way, especially when we're talking about different things. And there's different people that have more experience in these areas. So if you have questions, this is why talking to each other like this without judgment is so important, and sharing from our wins, because people have had a lot of successes in certain areas. So they can share with other people. We can learn from other people. And those events that we're having with like Maudie, with the Empower Flower, is important. I know it's Fibromyalgia Awareness Week in Canada. So the Fibromyalgia Association of Canada is actually have some presentations. So we'll definitely get that shared for the week. All virtual presentations, you can register. And I forgot to have the email. You send an email to that email address, and they'll get you registered for the free presentations all week long next week. So that starts, it is Pain Awareness Month. So there's going to be a lot of activities from different organizations too, with addressing chronic pain that you can get involved. So it's September, so it's Pain Awareness Month. We do have some fundraisers going on. If you are able to support, please definitely do. So it's purchasing of flowers. I think we have the Seeds Candy one going too. So candies and flowers and gardening, if you like that. And we understand too, financially, if you can't do that, please just share the post. Sharing and liking our content and letting people know about our organization goes a long way, because we are working on different modes of funding, like grant funding and other stuff. So even if you can just share our content, let people know that we are an active national nonprofit organization working hard for fibromyalgia, that helps us tremendously. So that way we just create more awareness among the community. We are working on another Fibromyalgia Community Conference, which will be a little bit later in the year to give us more time, because we are going to be traveling to Houston for the Fibromyalgia Healthcare Professional Conference with Texas Center for Lifestyle Medicine. So that's in the beginning of October. We're going to be at the American College of Rheumatology Conference in San Diego, which is in the middle of November. So we're looking at dates at the end of November, early first few days in December for the community conference. It's going to be all virtual for the community conference. So did I miss anything?
No, but I did want to highlight, I'm glad you said that about the Fibromyalgia Canada. So it's admin@fibrocanada.ca. I was actually going through and registering for some of their webinars this morning. And I noticed that there's a few people that have been in the comments. I cannot comment back because that's, if I click it, it's going to disconnect me. But we've got a few people talking about managing fibromyalgia and symptoms while being a caregiver. So I think that needs to be a topic that we talk about quite soon, because my mom also has fibromyalgia, and she took care of my grandmother before she passed, and it was really hard for my mom to do that. And I think sometimes that we just don't realize that we are doing so much already. So we overlook ourselves and we don't give ourselves that credit. So that looks like that needs to be a topic that comes up soon.
That'll definitely be a topic. So, I mean, thank you to everyone for tuning in and sharing that information. So if you do have other topics too that you want to have a discussion about, because we do encourage comments, and I really hope that this time the YouTube comments shared, because I know we're streaming live both on Facebook and YouTube right now. You can find the replays on both channels, but I'm not sure that the YouTube comments get saved. Maybe there's a setting there. So if you do have questions that haven't been answered, you may have to repost on YouTube. I know Facebook, it stays there. So if you're posting on Facebook, it'll stay there. If you're on YouTube, you may have to re-ask the question, because I didn't see in the last video that the comments were saved. So apologies for that, because I wasn't able to go in and answer those questions. So we'll try to get that fixed. But continue to ask questions. And I know, again, please, if you're doing research on those particular tests, always call those other places to figure out if they're involved. We don't want people to be taken advantage of at all in this community. We are aware of these different modalities that we just addressed with modifiable lifestyle changes. It is work involved. You will have to empower yourself to do some things at home, but it's encouraging because people are seeing good results from it. We are getting different conversations happening slowly about other things that might work, like a conversation which we're going to bring into the conference too. LDN, low dose naltrexone. We'll bring in some experts that can talk better about that. And I know we've had a lot of success. We've heard a lot of comments about people using that as well. So that might be an area, but a lot of this lifestyle work, being able to figure out where to go with that is also an important piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got some great comments in the feedback. And yeah, I wish there was a way we could see if those will save. We'll have to figure that out, because these are important. And again, if you need to, we want to add to some conversations that we're having, join the Inspire community. We've got some great conversations going on over there. Free to join. You can post anonymously as well.
Yeah, that's the cool thing with Inspire. You can post anonymously. And I know I have some particular questions too about work life for anybody that is holding down work. How do you feel comfortable actually talking and asking for accommodations? Even if it's part-time work, it counts. So any of that stuff, I mean, was that something that even when you were working, you were hesitant to mention? And the great thing about Inspire is you can post anonymously. So your name is not out there when it comes to that. Because I know I've had different questions about this situation coming up. And I wanted to ask people on YouTube, but I'm afraid to use my name. So I've been trying to figure out how to post comments and ask some of these YouTubers who are talking about this kind of thing, but I'm so afraid to use my name in asking particular questions. And they even recommend on the YouTube channels not to use your real name. But I was like, I don't know how to figure that out yet. So I'd have to create a separate account. But with this Inspire, you're already anonymous, which makes it easy. So you have those questions, you can always post and have conversations, and you won't have any fear of any retaliation or anybody like knowing who you are, which is cool.
Yeah, and if you're on there too and you want to post something and you're still kind of hesitant, Melissa and I are on there. It's, it's our first name _ support Fibro. Just send us a message and say, hey, can you post in the community for us? And we'll post it out there because we're trying to we're trying to incite these conversations, just ignite these conversations, because if you have that question, someone else has that question and needs the answer as well. So
Jody was asking, is the Inspire group on Facebook? Actually, no, it's a completely separate platform. And let me actually include the link if I got it right. So it's a separate platform. That's how they're able to do it. You can register anonymously. You don't have to give your data away or anything like that. It's not owned by Meta or any of these other companies. So it's through Inspire Health. And there's a lot of members in there. And we're trying to encourage more conversation as well. And there's different tracks. So if you're interested, you can register for free registration. Brandy's doing a fantastic job of actually getting an encouraging conversation as well. And there's different other health communities you can also join in the network. So that's why it makes it special. But again, you don't have to put your real name in there, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's an amazing place to just get together, and there's some great information on there as well. And this one particular person I was thinking about, she posts just almost every single day, and she has some great tips. I always look forward to seeing that notification go off to say, hey, so and so has posted. I go and click on it and I read what she has to say, and I'm wondering, was she in the medical field at some time? I don't know, but she's got some great content.
That's fantastic. I mean, please keep sharing, keep encouraging us if you have questions or you want videos done on particular topics. I know Brandi and I are both trying to study for finals this weekend, so we're kind of keeping up with the science. So I'm going to try to relay some of the science I've learned. I got my brain background behind me because I'm currently studying the anatomy of the brain, which I have to take a final for. It's good. It's understanding basic physiology, which I think some providers need to go back to, and just remembering, because we got stuck over there. And I'm like, wait a second, this is the basic physiology and the anatomy of the brain. Why are we distracted when this is going to be off? So I'm enjoying my stuff. I just need to pass my finals. So wish us luck. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And we'll be checking in with you soon. Please definitely help us out by giving us a like, share, letting other fibromyalgia people and community know we're out there. And we'll see you later. Bye.